This kind of sounds like a no-brainer, right? Police shouldn't put out false information on radios or social media, but you might be surprised that there was no clear policy with guidance on this until now. Omari Salisbury can sit now and reflect.
I'm just a regular old guy from the Central District of Seattle, man, just doing my job. And in doing my job, we uncovered something that changed the policy in our city.
Salisbury was on Capitol Hill during that summer of 2020, covering the protests for Converge Media, when panic set in after police were overheard on radio scanners.
Other Proud Boys is coming down here. Seems like they're kind of starting to muster up, maybe thinking about marching around.
People, running around, they're grabbing their guns and everything else. I thought that it was important to get to the bottom of, because that was such a pivotal day in the Seattle protests.
Omari filed a public disclosure request to confirm the police details, which forced SPD to admit months later that inflammatory call was made up.
We could put people in harm's way if we're not transparent on the kind of tools we want to use.
Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell telling KOMO News the new policy signed off on by the chief limits reasons for ruses and prohibits using them on radios and social media, forcing documentation of them as well. But it does not change police policy when it comes to investigations or interrogations.
But it is sort of a first step as we continue to look at all of our operations. Again, what an investigator does may be different than what a patrol officer does.
Is this something that needs to be worked out with the Guild as well?
We don't think that there's a labor issue that's presented.
The ruse was exposed.
Salisbury says he just wanted more transparency, more clarity for all involved.
But sometimes things just need a catalyst.
3 years after the fact, he finally got it. Seattle's Inspector General Lisa Judge also told me today that the benefit of ruses was far outweighed by the need for public trust, but she also believes there are further conversations that are needed about the use of ruses in investigations or suspect interrogations. This policy officially goes into place tomorrow. That's the story for now. Live in Seattle, I'm Chris Daniels, KOMO News.
Chris, thank you. SPD's use of ruses also drew controversy with the 2018 hit-and-run case. In order to get the driver to turn himself in, an officer told a friend of the driver that a woman suffered critical injuries and might not survive. In reality, it was a minor crash where no one was hurt. The suspect later killed himself. The Office of Police Accountability reports that the ruse, quote, shocked the conscience. Then Police Chief Carmen Best suspended the officer for 6 days without pay.
Tonight's KOMO Pulse poll deals with the use of police ruses. Ryan Sims is at the desk there going over the results for us. Ryan?
You know, as Chris just reported, the big debate here is how far police can go to actually get information about crimes. So that's what we're asking today. To chime in, scan this QR code right there. 1,100 people weighing in so far to vote. Again, scan that QR code, take you directly to KOMOnews.com where you can cast your vote. This is the question we're asking this evening. How do you feel about police using so-called ruses to fight crime? Take a look. Vast majority, almost 2/3, say it is useful tool in fighting crime. Meantime, 17% say deception is wrong at any level, while another 20% really say it depends on the circumstances. We are always committed to being your voice on the issues that matter the most in our local KOMO Pulse poll. A great way for you to speak out and have your voice heard.
SPD is starting a new policy. They tout it as a first of its kind in the country. This week, changes are now coming to when an officer can use a ruse statement, as it's called. KOMO's Mo Hyder joins us live at SPD headquarters with a look at what's different with this new rule. Mo?
Yeah, Kelly, well, the goal of this new policy is to help rebuild confidence and trust with the public and the community. Now, ruse is a statement an officer knows isn't true but could be helpful when it comes to an investigation or de-escalation. This new policy would put more control on how ruse statements are used to prevent any problems. So why the change? Mayor Harrell wanted the department to come up with a new policy after 2 specific incidents in the past. Back in 2018, an SPD officer's ruse led to a suicide hit and run of a driver, and also in 2020, officers made fake radio traffic to get protesters away from the chop zone. Now, according to SPD, the need and conditions for a ruse should be strongly and clearly defined. It limits it to 5 specific scenarios, and those are furtherance of de-escalation, calming a person, promote safety of a person, scene management, and bring violent situations to peaceful resolutions. The department also says this policy will continue to be revised when new data comes out about it. Also, if a ruse statement is used, it must be documented in a report later on that same day. This new rule takes effect tomorrow. In Seattle, Mo Hyder, KOMO News.